everything in life is a game. You got to learn how to play the game. And I think that how do you win the game? It's that you don't stop playing. An asset, media asset is leverage, meaning you can use it to, again, build a business. You can use it to sell a product. You can use it to get a job. You can use it to do whatever you want to do. It's an asset. It's leverage. It's whatever you want to call it. It's a very useful thing to build.
Hello, my name is Aaron Wexler. Welcome to another episode of Within the Game. Let's go. Within the Game is all about sharing inspiration. And I just want to thank everyone for being a part of this podcast journey with me. Coming up on 100 episodes here. And it's really fun. It's awesome. And my request to everyone out there is just share this with someone you think would find value from it. That would be awesome. And if you could follow and support my guests, that would also be great. I try to bring you guys awesome people, and today's guest is the one and only Scott Clary. Scott, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Congrats on the almost 100.
Yeah, right?
That's incredible, dude. You know, I've said this stat before, but it's something like if you do more than 10 episodes, you're like in the 0.1% of all podcasters. So like you're fucking killing it, bro. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I'm trying to catch up to you, brother. Scott is the host of the globally top-ranked Success Story podcast and a powerhouse in the content creation game. He's built a thriving career by turning conversations into value, and he's here to share that mindset, strategy, and inspiration behind his journey. You can check out his website, successstorypodcast.com. Also on Instagram, Scott D. Clary. And a quick shout out to Craig Siegel for the connection. So Scott, today's theme that I have for us is winning the game of inspired content creation. So let's start with that. I like to start with inspiration. So what does that phrase even mean to you?
Winning the game of inspired content creation. Okay, because content is everything in life is a game. You got to learn how to play the game. And I think that how do you win the game? It's that you don't stop playing. So winning the game of inspired content creation, let's break it down. The first part is finding a way to win the game, and there's no end to this game, so you have to find a way to stay in that game long enough. But the second part, because that part seems difficult, but I think that most people who have the mindset of your audience, athletes who are used to doing the hard work and grinding it out and showing up to 5 a.m. practices and doing all the stuff that isn't the highlight reel, isn't the playoffs, isn't, like down to the wire. They're used to putting in the work when no one really cares. That's one thing that's so great about athletes. They're used to putting in all the work. So somebody who is an athlete who starts creating a ton of content, who has that mindset of just pushing through all this suck in pursuit of eventually some great end result, hopefully, they can probably stick with stuff for a very long time, even if it's not working out.
Yeah.
Now, that's great. That's part of it. But the thing about content is your second point in that line was inspired. So how do you keep enjoying what you're doing? How do you keep being inspired that you're showing up and giving it your 150%? And I think a lot of it is the same as is again, when you are an athlete and you're practicing and you're putting in the reps, creating content, you have to be doing something that you actually enjoy. You have to be creating content around something that lights you up even when nobody's listening to you. You have to be creating content that, for whatever reason, there's no right or wrong kind of content, but for whatever reason, when you create that content, it gives you energy. And I think that that's a great, barometer for, am I creating the right kind of content? That's really
Right.
it. I mean,
Love that.
there's a lot of different types of content I could create. I do mindset stuff. I talk about mindset. I talk about entrepreneurship. I talk about business. I talk about personal, professional development. I also talk about health, wellness, fitness. I talk about a whole bunch of stuff that a high performing person should care about. I talk about family, talk about spirituality. I talk about all the things that if you're going to quote unquote make it, you have to sort of check the boxes in all these different categories. But the reason why I talk about this stuff is because it's important to me. So there's not a conversation that I have on the podcast that isn't important to me in my life in some way and wouldn't have been useful for me to learn, 3, 5, 10 years ago. That's all my content is. My content is shit that I want to learn either now or that would have been useful to my earlier, younger self.
Yeah.
That's what lights me up. That's what gets me excited. Now, there's a lot of other types of content you can create. I mean, people dance on TikTok, people do, they prank on YouTube. There's a million different types of content. Whatever you enjoy, it doesn't matter. If you want to be, more casual, not do such heavy stuff that's trying to change somebody's life, you can drink with your boys and just shoot the shit around whatever you want to talk about. And there's a whole bunch of podcasts in particular that do just that, that are
Right.
just a whole bunch of guys talking about sports or life or whatever or comedy. And I think that if you enjoy it and it inspires you and it lights you up, that's the secret to the first half of the equation, which is finding a way to stay in the game long enough to win.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great, man. And you know, I was telling you before, I've been inspired by your content and the way you
Thank you,
show
dude.
up. And I believe you have a 24/7 stream on YouTube too, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
But it's not like I'm on YouTube. I do sleep, but yes.
yeah, but again, that goes back to like you're sharing your
Yeah.
conversations and they're all valuable. And that's why I wanted to have you on. And I really want to unpack like how you've been able to do that. Hopefully to inspire someone listening to this who's like, man, I could do that too. Because honestly, that's you've helped me with my journey, you know? And
Thank
I
you,
told
dude.
you this before, like you never know who's watching or listening. You just don't
Yeah.
know until they tell you, right? And so I'm telling you, like, thank you, right? Because great job. You've shown, and going back to that meeting with Craig Siegel where I was listening, I think you mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you are able to create a full-time income from the podcast.
Yeah. Now I am. But
That's so cool.
this is over 6 years later.
Okay, over
Yeah.
6 years later, can you just
Yeah.
talk about that journey briefly and just share what that looked like from when you started, probably with like no revenue coming in to like getting brand deals and ad revenue
Yeah.
and yeah, go for it.
So, first of all, there's a lot of different pieces to being successful at content and being like a full-time creator. I think that it all comes back again. I'm not trying to just, just keep going back to that one line that you said, but being inspired allows you
Yeah.
to stay in this game long enough to make money from doing the thing that you love. I think that's very important. When I started, I knew that. I knew that if I was going to ever turn this into a real thing, I just have to find a way to not quit. Like
Yeah.
that's how you win at most things. By the way, it's not just like content. I've spoken about this before, but sort of the 10-year rule, right? If you're going to do anything, find a way to commit 10 years of your life to that thing. So if it's going to be content, which is a business, if it's going to be more of a traditional business, if it's going to be anything, if it's going to be a weight loss journey, whatever it is, minimum 10 years. Minimum 10 years. And when you think in decades, really, 10 years would be the minimum amount that you could consider to be a decade, right? But if you think in decades as opposed to months, weeks, months, or even years, you start to operate differently. So you start to understand that, hey, if I'm going to stick in this thing for 10 years, what does that actually mean? That means that I have to find a way to support myself so that I can stay in it for 10 years. If I quit my job and I start becoming a full-time content creator, year one, that's not a 10-year mindset. I'm going to run out of money. I'm not going to be able to monetize quick enough. I'm not going to be able to sustain myself. I'm not going to be able to pay the mortgage, take care of my family, whatever. So you have to find a way to not just, architect your mindset, but architect your entire life around playing this game, as Hermosi likes to call it, for an unreasonable amount of time. That's how you win. But yeah, this is everything, right? This is when you're losing weight. This is when you want to get into a relationship. This is when you want to succeed at business, succeed in your career. Just play long-term games. That's always how you win.
Yeah.
So that's how I started, right? So I started thinking, okay, uh, actually, when I started my podcast, funny enough, it was actually not meant to be the main thing. It was
Hmm.
meant to create leverage, media leverage. So I wanted to build an audience so that whatever I launched in the future, I would have an audience that I could launch it into. And that's still the playbook. Like I can still launch a product or a service or start a company, and I still get approached for opportunities that I would have never had access to if I didn't build a brand or build an audience. But when I first started, I wasn't so stressed about making money from it. I knew that eventually money would come, or money would come from something that I could use the audience for. But I wasn't stressed about, like, okay, I need to find a way to turn the podcast into revenue next week so that I can pay my rent or my mortgage. That's not a smart move. Um, and also, the type of content that I chose to create, which was a podcast, that was something that I enjoyed creating. And if you enjoy creating it, that means you can do it forever. That's also why my recommendation to anybody who wants to start creating content, whether or not it's writing a newsletter or podcasting or posting on Instagram or dancing on TikTok or whatever you want to do, like just do something that you enjoy doing. Like don't feel like just because, oh, I know that there's a lot of organic reach on TikTok, I got to figure out how to hop on TikTok trends because you're going to hate it after 2 months and then you're not going to do it anymore. So that defeats the whole purpose.
Right.
So even if you don't, even if your skill set or your passion isn't aligned with what's viral at the moment or the most opportunistic platform, it doesn't matter because short-term virality will always be eclipsed by long-term commitment. And if you enjoy writing, fine, go on Substack and write. There's a lot of newsletters out there. Writing, blogging, newsletters are not new. But if you do it for 10 years, you're going to make a good amount of money off of that thing, one way or another. So when I first started my podcast, I didn't have a product or a service that I sold.
Hmm.
I'm a student of the Gary V's of the world, which means two things. First of all, I give tons of free value.
Hmm.
Basically, everything I've done is just given for free. And when you give enough value, money finds a way to you somehow.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of different ways you can monetize any media asset, any podcast. You can do advertisers, you can sell a course, you can, do a paid community, you can do whatever. You could do affiliate deals, you could do a million different things. At the beginning, I didn't know how I wanted to monetize it. I didn't want to put another garbage product out into the world, so I just put it out for free, built the biggest possible audience. That's a very Gary V philosophy, and it's probably a philosophy people way before Gary V too. And the second thing that is a Gary Vee philosophy is to use that one asset and to distribute it everywhere. And that's also why I like the podcast versus other types of media. Not to say that you shouldn't, but if you can find a way to do long form video, it's great because you can turn that long form video into other assets quite easily. So long form video can turn into, and I do a video podcast, YouTube, podcast, short social clips, can turn into a newsletter, can turn into tweets, can turn into little uh, you know, square motivational quotes you can post on Instagram. So long form video is really malleable. It can be turned into a lot of different things versus like if I just write on Twitter, it's hard to take 240 characters and easily turn that without doing a lot of work into a 10-minute, 15-minute YouTube video. So I just always thought about distribution because I'm a marketer. That's why I love video and audio podcasts.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
and that's
100%.
it. That's how I started really. And then like you asked me how I monetized. Um, I grew the audience first, looked for content that hit, making sure that the episodes I was doing were actually resonating with an audience. I was looking to make sure the audience was growing, meaning like month over month, am I getting more subscribers? Am I getting more downloads? And once you do this repeatedly, again, I wasn't so stressed about money at the beginning, but if the needle's moving, the audience is growing, then you get a little bit strategic about, okay, how do I monetize? And
Yeah.
then also advertisers start reaching out to you, but you can also reach out to agencies that can broker deals. You can be a little bit more traditional and start running sales campaigns and start emailing people. And you can use a whole bunch of tools to see which brands have advertised on other podcasts. And then you can reach out to those brands. I mean, there's a lot of strategy behind it. We can go into the weeds on this, but
Yeah.
at the beginning, the most important idea, forget monetization and just
Mhm.
figure out how can I do this for an unreasonable amount of time, and then the money will come after.
No, I love it, Scott. This is great. And again, as we move into this, I want this to be a master class. If
Hmm.
someone's listening to this who hasn't started a podcast, maybe thinking about it, doesn't even need to be a podcast, any sort of
Hmm.
multimedia, putting yourself out there. We really hope you get a lot of value from this.
So let's talk. We can talk about marketing. We talk about
Yeah.
sales. We can talk about making money. So
Yeah.
again, the reason why you're doing it is the most important. But then I think that the second thing that you should figure out is how to market it because you're
Okay.
putting all this effort into creating it. So you actually have to find out, okay, if I'm gonna, you have to think if I'm putting all this energy and effort into creating this media asset, how do I make sure that people know about it? And this is why, like I mentioned, I love podcasting because I record a long form audio and video. And this is a Gary V content distribution strategy, right? You take the
Mhm.
long form audio and video, you record the long form video, you put it up on YouTube, you record the long form audio, you put it up on whatever podcast hosting platform you're using, and you can use like a Megaphone or a Libsyn or an Art 19 or any of the big podcast hosting platforms. Great. That's where the whole podcast goes up. After that, then you can turn it into a newsletter so you can transcribe it with a variety of different transcription tools. I'm trying to think. I mean, what do I use now? I haven't done a
Otter.
transcription. Sorry, Otter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm blanking on what I actually use because now, sorry, I digress. I actually have a team now that does a lot of the stuff on the back
Sure.
end. So I used to do this all myself, and that's
Hmm.
actually another good entrepreneurial idea. When you first start, I think it benefits you to get into the weeds and do a lot of the different things yourself. But after a while, you have to figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at, and then you have to delegate and hire. And you can actually do
Sure.
that quite simply with tools like Fiverr or Upworks. You can get some really, really cost-efficient talent, and it doesn't have to break the bank. But you have to
Sure.
find a way to find audience, audience product fit first. You have to find a way to scale it. Then you bring in some revenue, and then eventually you hire. So anyway, yes, you transcribe it with Otter.ai. There's a whole bunch of other transcription tools that work just as well. The reason why I was blanking was because actually there's a transcription tool that I really love right now that is a Chrome extension that is literally called something like YouTube Transcribe or something like that. And it's like very, very cheap. It's cheaper than Otter.
Cool.
And it's this little Chrome extension, and you pull it up, and any YouTube video ever will have this little box beside it that says like pull full transcription with timestamps. So that's actually what I've been using lately. But Otter also works perfect. And with that transcription, then you can use that to write a newsletter. So again, we're taking long form audio, video content, and we're turning it into all these other pieces of content. So long form audio, video, you can turn that into a newsletter. If you are a great writer and you enjoy writing, then feel free to write it yourself because now you have all the text in front of you so you can pull it to different parts you want to discuss. Or you can take that transcription, put it right into ChatGPT or Claude, and you can get those tools to do a first pass at writing the newsletter. If you feel like it sounds too robotic or not like you, fine, use those tools to get you 70, 80% of the way there and then just touch it up yourself.
Yeah.
Um, After you send out your newsletter, you take that same newsletter, you can take that, put it up as a blog on your website as well with links to the podcast, and I do this. Then you take that, go back to that long form audio video. You can use a tool like Opus. There's a whole bunch of different tools that do it, but Opus is one of the more popular ones, and it takes long form video and it turns it into a whole bunch of short form video clips, and it ranks it. It gives you a decent sense of what's a good topic. It like ranks them based on, you know, I think it's called like a virality factor. So it's like if somebody's talking about, um, something that's a little bit controversial or emotional, it's going to rank those clips a little bit higher, but it'll take a long form video and give you, I don't know, 20, 30 different clips. And you can edit them. So you can add a little bit of text at the beginning. You can add a hook. You can change the clips, modify them a little bit, and then you can take those clips, and then that's your short video clips you can post on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram and Snapchat Spotlight. You can post them everywhere. So that would be the second thing you can do. Third thing you can do to market would be again to take that transcript, put it into Claude or Chat GPT, and say, hey, find 5 or 10 really hard hitting tweets from this podcast. And you can use those for Twitter, or you can use those for threads, or you can take those and you can put them into Canva. Like I use Canva. I have a little template set up where I have these square, and if you go to my Instagram, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. These little square templates of sort of like tweet images. I don't even know how else to describe them, but they do
Yeah.
very well. Super shareable. That's some of my best content on Instagram. So you take a podcast, you transcribe it, you ask Claude or ChatGPT to find the hardest hitting tweets or ideas in that transcript. You take those, you turn them into tweets, you turn them into these little graphics. Those graphics can go on Instagram, those graphics can go on Facebook as well. Those graphics can go on LinkedIn. You can use Claude or ChatGPT to write the captions. Um, I'm trying to think what else do we do for content distribution. So that's audio, video, newsletter, blog, short video, tweets, threads, uh, uh, little tweet images. That's pretty much all we do. And then
Hmm.
there's some variation too. Like I have a couple different templates for Instagram, so they don't all look the exact same. But that's pretty much it. And then that whole workflow, it doesn't cost a lot of money to have these tools. It's like a under $100 per month tool set, and um, you can hire somebody to run this workflow, or you can probably do everything I just mentioned in like an hour and a half, and have on like an insane amount of content, and all good quality too. I would say that just a couple other thoughts. I don't
Sure.
like ChatGPT in terms of writing as much as I do Claude. I'm going
Okay.
really into the weeds now, just so that
No,
people
this is
know
great.
exactly what I
No,
do.
no,
Okay,
keep going,
cool.
dude. This is awesome, bro.
I don't like ChatGPT for writing as much as I do Claude. I like
Okay.
think Claude writes a little bit more like a human, at least right now. We'll try and keep this as evergreen as possible. It may change in the future, but in 2025 to date, I do like Claude as a writing tool better. Also, if you find like it's not capturing your voice, um, what you can do is you can take if you've ever been on a podcast or even if you haven't been, just record yourself speaking about something that you know a lot about and then take that transcription and then use it to train ChatGPT or Claude on how you speak, topics you care about. And then it will be not perfect, but it'll be a little bit closer to who you actually are when it creates the tweets or writes the newsletter or writes the blog. So training it on yourself is great because sometimes, like I've written so much content on the internet right now, it's a little bit easier for me because I can say, hey, this doesn't sound enough like Scott Clary. Can you please write it a little bit more like Scott Clary? Research who that is, and it'll research and find a lot of content. I've written thousands of pieces between Twitter and blog and newsletter, and they're all online. So it's very easy to figure out what my voice is and who I am. But if you don't have that, then you just feed it that information and it'll sound a little bit more like you. Um, but that's really the distribution and marketing part of the podcast. There's not much else that I do in terms of content marketing. If you want to take it to the next level, other marketing ideas for a podcast would be collaborating with other podcasters. So you can do ads on each other's shows. You can guest on each other's shows. You can do feed drops, meaning I take a full episode from your podcast, you take a full episode of my podcast. I literally upload your episode with a short little intro saying, "Hey, I this is one of my favorite shows. You can get this wherever you get your podcast. If you want a sort of a sample of what this sounds like, listen to the full episode here. Hope you enjoy." You upload that, and then they upload yours, and then you're sort of like you're tapping into each other's audiences. So feed drops are super powerful. Um, One marketing idea that is very important is if you are marketing a media asset like a podcast,
Mhm.
meaning if I'm doing collaborations, if I'm paying anybody, if I'm like running ads, if I'm doing feed drops, if any kind of marketing, your best results for marketing uh, will be with somebody else who has that same media asset. What do I mean by that? I mean that if I want to do some sort of collaboration with another creator, I will get better results doing some sort of swap with another podcaster versus, and I would even rather pay to get an ad on someone else's podcast versus me pay to get an ad for a podcast and a newsletter. And the reason why that is because if I am paying to advertise my podcast on a newsletter, that means that I'm advertising to a whole bunch of people that read newsletters but may not be podcast listeners. So I have to
Sure.
convince them not only to be a podcast listener or a portion of them, but I also have to convince them to listen to my show. So first of all, I'm switching the media format and I'm saying that I'm an option. If I'm advertising on another person's podcast, all I'm saying is you're already a podcast listener, just listen to mine.
Sure.
So this is a little bit this is a smart marketing tactic because you're not switching somebody's behavior. Switching somebody's behavior when you're marketing to them, it's just a lot more friction. So usually that means it's going to cost you a little bit more or your results aren't going to be as optimized. So yes, you can market wherever the hell you want, but if you can, because we're marketing media, if you can market your media asset on a similar media asset, it's just going to be an easier way to capture customers or capture
Yeah.
audience. Um, and yeah, that's okay. So let's think about what we just went through. Content marketing, collaboration with other creators, um, outside of that, I mean, you can bring big names on your show and you can collaborate with them and you can tap into their audiences. It's moderately effective. I think that's usually how most people think they're going to grow their show. They're going to get a big name on. They hope that that person shouts out their podcast. They hope that that person does a collab on Instagram. Uh, Sometimes the people won't. Sucks, but they won't. I will, don't worry. But like I sometimes people won't do that. But The other thing is, the biggest names that you bring onto your show, they may drive some results because somebody will be searching for that particular person and they find your podcast with that person. But know that the bigger the name, it usually means they're on a lot of shows,
Sure.
meaning that the X factor in why somebody is listening to that person on your show usually isn't because of the famous person or the influential person. It's because they like you and they like the way you interview them and they like the way you ask the questions. So it's okay to bring on big names because I know that's how a lot of people grow podcasts in particular, or they think that's how they're going to grow podcasts in particular. But I would actually caution against over indexing on large names as a marketing strategy for your show. And I would say that what you should do instead is not just focus on interviews. You should focus on building an audience that loves and cares about you through mixing in some more solo content. And I think that
Mm,
a lot of podcasters are scared to do that, especially starting out. Because like, oh, I don't know how to talk to myself for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah, it's definitely a talent. It's not easy. It's weird and awkward for most people. But if you can do it, and eventually you can, it's just about putting in the reps. If you can do it, you will build more of a loyal following with your audience because of your thoughts and your ideas and who you are. And I think that that's something that I wish I had started like from the beginning. I was like everyone else who was like, I'm going to start a podcast and just interview people. It works. Like it's great. I'm not complaining about it. But I think that I even get feedback from my audience saying like, Scott, the solo stuff you do, that's why I listen to you
cool.
because I like your point of view.
Cool.
So I think
Yeah.
that that's something that people should start from the get-go. But in terms of marketing, uh, yeah, that's pretty much what I've done for my show
Yeah.
for the past like 6.5 years and rinse and repeat every single week.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being a fan of the show. I really appreciate your support. And if you'd like to further support the podcast, please grab a copy of my book, The Inspired Athlete. The Inspired Athlete is all about my personal growth journey, my athletic journey, my spiritual journey, all combined into one. And really, the idea is that the energy of the inspired athlete is within us all, and it's up to us to evoke that. And whether you consider yourself an athlete or a competitor or not, it's my belief that the energy of the inspired athlete is within us. Even if you just decide to take a deep breath and just move your body, that's the inspired athlete. So it would mean a lot if you could help support the book project as well as the podcast by grabbing a copy. Links to the Amazon paperback version as well as the Audible audiobook version are listed below in the description. Thank you very much for your support. Stay inspired, y'all. No, it's so good, man. And thank you for sharing all that. And you just inspired me to do some more solo stuff because
You should.
full transparency, like I've been a little afraid of that. How do I look straight into the camera and just riff, you know? So no, thank you for that. Two things you said that I want to kind of reflect on.
Yeah.
You mentioned Gary Vee. For the audience, Gary Vee is like number one mentor for me. Maybe you too, right, Scott?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think he knows who I am, so
Right. Well,
I have a
same.
lot of those. I have a lot of
Yeah.
those. Actually, not. I mean, like maybe you've seen my stuff. Who knows? We're supposed to do a podcast soon, but
Okay.
I wouldn't say that he's. I don't like when people say like when they name drop mentors who really have no fucking clue who they are.
Got
I
you.
study people from afar, man. I have mentors that have never even met me. Some of them probably aren't even alive anymore that I just learned from, right? But you
I
know what I'm
get it.
talking
Yeah.
about.
No, I got you. But Gary Vaynerchuk, I think he's
Yeah.
like the number one guy when it comes to like having a grasp on this whole everything we're talking about, including
Smart.
marketing, branding, social media, content creation. So two things you said about what he talks about, which is number one, treating this as an asset. And let's
Yeah.
let's actually rewind and get out of the weeds a little bit and go back to
Yeah,
the
sure.
to the beginner who might be listening to this and is like, whoa, that's a little overwhelming talking about marketing. Let's rewind a little bit. So talk about how to approach this as an asset if it's not an asset yet, right? And so that's I would like you to talk about that.
Sure.
And then the second thing that you that Gary mentioned, which I really like, is he treats podcasting recording days as production days, which is clipping and sharing from that long form content. So yeah, talk about those two things. Approaching this work as an asset, like this actual thing that we're co-creating right
Yeah,
now
definitely.
together, and then yeah, and then how it's a production day and it just can filter out to other areas.
Definitely. So couple thoughts. First
Yeah.
of all, I definitely went into the weeds because that's my entire marketing strategy.
Yeah.
So if you have not started a podcast yet, I would say that don't stress too much about writing all this stuff down. Um, First, you have to understand why you're even doing it, and we can talk about why it's an asset because that's gonna give you sort of a little bit of motivation as to why you should do this.
Sure.
But if you want to sort of get started and then listen to the marketing stuff later, literally what you should do is take this podcast, go find that damn Chrome extension that I mentioned, get the transcription, go plug it into ChatGPT and be like, hey, Scott listed out his marketing strategy for podcasts. Can you write out step by step a marketing strategy based on this podcast? And it'll capture everything a lot more clearly, and you'll have it right in front of you and you can follow it. And it'll list all the tools and where to go get them.
Nice.
Um, that's a very easy way to just take what we just spoke about and action it. Now,
Sure.
podcasting as an asset. So when I started podcasting, or when you start content creating,
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody does this purposefully. I did do it purposefully. I wanted to future proof myself. I wanted to create an asset that no matter, and I touched on this a little bit, but no matter what I did in the future, I could use that asset to make my life easier. It
Right.
would be easier to start a business. It'd be easier to sell a product. It'd be easier to get a job if I wanted to get a job because I have this great brand, right? That's the goal of content creation. Or I can just monetize my audience. That's another way to build a business around it. So it's an asset. It's just I would say it goes a little bit deeper than that. Um, there is somebody who everybody who's listening to this at some point should go follow who, yes, go follow Gary V, but also go follow Naval Ravikant, who's a really smart entrepreneur, investor, big on Twitter. And the reason why I mention his name is because he mentions uh, there's a thread on Twitter about the four kinds of leverage. It's one of the most famous Twitter threads. Um, and the four kinds of leverage are money, finance, technology, people, and media. And if you want to build anything significant, you definitely have to tap into one of the four. However, the biggest companies in the world, they tap into all four types of
Mm.
leverage. These are the things that move the needle. These are the things that really can change industry, can disrupt industry. Like if you tap into all these things, right? So um, I thought, why not? Why not build one of those four kinds of leverage? And when you're building one of those four kinds of leverage, which is media leverage, you're building an asset. An asset, media asset is leverage, meaning you can use it to, again, build a business. You can use it to sell a product. You can use it to get a job. You can use it to do whatever you want to do. It's an asset. It's leverage. It's whatever you want to call it. It's a very useful thing to build. So when I
Yeah.
first started building it, I was like, I'm going to build this asset or leverage or whatever you want to call it, just so I can future proof my own career. I didn't know what it was going to lead to in the future, but I knew that by building it, it was going to lead to opportunities that I didn't even know existed yet. And that's really why I started it. And again, however you want to use it, because that's what an asset is, right? It's something that appreciates over time. The more energy you put into it, it compounds. And there's a million different ways that you can use it. There's a million different ways that it can benefit you. So, of course, you can monetize the audience, you can sell ads. I could sell a coaching or consulting course. I could sell access to a paid community. I could get a job because somebody wants access to my audience.
Sure.
I could start a company. I could start a software company. I could start a clothing company. I could sell like a productivity notebook. I could write a book. I could do all these different things with a little, and it would be just a little bit easier for me to do all of these things because I have this asset, because I have this audience already. And that's why I started it.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, the opportunities that it's given me, I didn't even think possible at the time. It's not that I didn't think possible. I don't want to say that, I was thinking small, but I just don't think that you just don't know what you don't know. So fast forward like 6 years, right? You sat down in front of several billionaires, some of the most famous, influential people on earth have literally sat like in that chair across from me, which is wild.
Go.
Um, I've had multiple people approach me, and I am working on now a book with a very decent book deal for a first book. I've been
Let's
asked to
go.
speak on multiple stages. I'm speaking at Inbound, which is HubSpot's largest conference. I think last year they had between in person and virtual about 120,000 people attend this conference. And this year, last 3 years, I spoke there. This year, it's gotten so big, they're moving it from Boston, which is where it was, to San Francisco. I'm speaking there again this year. I mean, these are opportunities that I've had some career success, but to have that opportunity, you don't get that with like moderate career success. You have to
Right.
be like mega exit, very successful, or you build an audience. One of those two things gives you these opportunities, right? The book deals come to people that sold companies for $100 million, or they come to people that have built audiences. Or there's other ways to get them, obviously, but I mean, just in my world, I'm not saying that getting an Olympic medal or being a president doesn't solicit or doesn't warrant a book deal or some stage time, but I wasn't on track for any of those things. So there was kind of two ways at least I could get on some of these stages or get some of these opportunities. And yeah, so it's just changed my life in ways I didn't even think possible. And that's why I started it. It was to future-proof my career and my life. And that's still what it's doing. And it's still
It's so
going down.
cool.
Thank you to new sponsor of the show, Stretch Life, located in Manhattan Beach, California. Stretch Life offers assisted stretching for anyone who wants to enhance their flexibility practice. And if you're like me, muscle tightness is something I deal with on a daily basis, whether I'm in the gym training or out on the beach playing beach volleyball or even sitting here doing this podcast. It's a challenge to make time for the daily stretch routine. And so I've been working with Amir over the last couple months over at Stretch Life, and I can tell a big difference in the way I feel. I have more range of motion, I have more energy, more muscle control, and just overall less pain. Stretch Life is offering Within the Game listeners 50% off your first session. Just mention Within the Game when you book online or when you call in for the discount. And also, if you do not have access to the Stretch Life studio, but you still want to learn more about how to enhance your flexibility practice, Amir is offering a free 20-minute phone call where he can share specific stretches and other specific tools that can help you. So visit stretchlife.com, that's stretchlife spelled with a Y, to book your first session, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Nah, Scott, it's so cool. Can you bring us back again? I want to get back to the weeds, but could you bring us back to episode one, your
Yeah.
very first episode? And like, could you talk about the confidence? And again, the listener, the audience for this show right now might be like, well, I don't even know what to talk about, or I don't know how to put myself on camera,
Of
or even how about this one? The market is saturated. There's so many podcasts now.
course there are, but there's
Right.
there's always been a lot.
Right. But like talk to that person and talk about your experience from the very first day, and like how that episode one has
Yeah.
transformed you personally and your show to now.
So a couple different ideas there. So first of all, my episode one was with a really good guy, Mark DeGrasse. And when I first started podcasting, um, it wasn't like the podcast has evolved. So when I first started, I cared about sales and marketing and business and entrepreneurship because that was my day to day. And again, I mentioned this, but I was creating content for me like 5 years ago. So I was interviewing CMOs and CEOs and chief revenue officers, and that's what I did. So I wanted to learn about sales and marketing and entrepreneurship. That was interesting to me. And then as I grew up and as my podcast grew up, I started to bring in other topics that somebody who was a highly ambitious, high performance individual would care about. So, yes, it's great to build a business and make money, but you don't want to let your relationships with your family slide. You don't want to lose your physical or mental health. You don't want to lose your spiritual health. You don't want to lose any of these things. So I brought in experts that would talk about, okay, it's great to make a lot of money. That's important. Nothing wrong with money. You need it to do anything meaningful, take care of your family, change the world. You got to make money. But you can't let the rest of your life go to shit. And that's why I wanted to bring in all these people that would talk to that person who was super ambitious, high performing, but also wanted physical, mental health, spiritual health, family, relationships. They don't want to have three ex-wives and $100 million and, be morbidly obese. Like that's not a good life. It's never a good life. And I've sat across from people that have everything and have checked all the boxes, and I've also sat across from people that have only checked the money box. And I wouldn't want to trade lives with the people that just check the money box. Um, that being said, So yeah, my first podcast episode is with Mark. It was about sales and marketing. Um, really, really smart guy. I had no idea what the hell I was doing at all.
Yeah.
But I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate because I think I have a little bit of delusion and ego, which I think that if you don't have it, you got to find a way to get it. But in my mind, everything I've taken on, I just ask like, why not me? Like, why can't I figure it out? I mean, great. There's a million other podcasts. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like I will figure out how to make mine the biggest podcast in the world. And even if it doesn't end up there, I'm not like an idiot. Joe Rogan's pretty damn big right now, and Tim Ferriss pretty damn big right now. But if it doesn't end up there, it'll end up somewhere close, right? The whole cliche, shoot for the stars, whatever. If you miss, whatever, all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Right.
Um, but it's true. I mean, I've never worried about anyone else. I've only worried about me and getting better at my craft and being, 1% better every single day. And
Let's go.
uh, that's it. That's really it. I've never ever concerned myself with the market saturated or there's too many creators out there because it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, there's always too many of everything out there. It's always the case.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very rare that you're going to build a business that has no competition. We're not all putting rockets, in on Mars or whatever. We're not trying to do shit like that. We're trying to, get freedom, fulfillment, escape a 9 to 5, being able to take care of our friends and family, and those kinds of businesses and those kinds of opportunities. You're not building something that hasn't been done before, more often than not. Podcasting or just regular business, whatever it is. So, in my mind, first of all, I believe that I always have a very abundant mindset. I believe there's so much damn money in the world that everybody can get theirs. Like, I really do believe that. And I also believe that if I apply everything that I have, my energy, my time, my talent, my intellect, my curiosity, my perseverance, my grit, all of it, that there's no reason why anyone else would be able to figure it out and I wouldn't be able to. I don't believe anybody's that special. I don't believe anybody's that special at all.
I just think that everything you just said right there relates back to the inspired content creation. That to me, like it's important to get that mindset to get into this field, right?
Yeah.
To like dive in and to stay in, right? Like we mentioned before, two things came up there when you're speaking. Going back to Gary Vee, right? I want to reference him a lot. Number one was we are transitioning from social media to interest based media.
Mhm.
Talk about that when it comes to creating value based content.
Well, yeah, I think that right now, from what I understand with how platforms are moving, from a very tactical point of view, it doesn't actually matter how many followers you have because platforms actually don't show a lot of your content to 100% of your followers.
Right.
So if you post something, even if you have a million followers, maybe 5 or 10% of your followers are actually seeing it. What platforms are getting really good at is they're getting really good at taking your content and showing it to people that actually care about it.
That's right.
Because we're at the point where every single piece of this is why hashtags don't matter anymore. This is why all these like little hacks, put these certain keywords in the caption. No, none of it matters. And you know why it doesn't matter? You're kidding yourself if you think that platforms don't know what your content is about. Every
Right.
single piece of content that is uploaded, there's some sort of AI tool that is transcribing it,
Right.
knowing exactly what you're speaking about and serving it to the audience that cares about that thing. That's why your content is getting served to people that don't follow you and not getting served to people who do follow you. That's frustrating for some creators that have been in the game for a long time, but it doesn't matter. You're playing a game in someone else's world. This is also why, little side comment, you should find a way to take all the audience off social and own that audience, which is also why building an email list is so damn important. But that's a whole other conversation because you don't own your audience. So if you have a million followers and your content doesn't tailor to what that 900,000 person audience cares about, Instagram, TikTok is not serving it to that audience. So you have to know exactly who your audience is, what they care about, and your content should be packaged in a way that is solving their problems or speaking to them. And if you can do that repeatedly, that's how you win at social media, because that's how the algorithm will know exactly who to serve your content to, which is also why it's so important, and especially when you're starting out, to niche down. I think it's
Yeah.
more important to niche down. I think that's why, people ask me like, well, Scott, should I start a podcast? I'm like, why are you starting a podcast? What's the point of your podcast? Don't just do it to interview the most famous people.
Sure.
Interview it to accomplish an objective. Like, understand who your audience is, and understand what business result the podcast drives for that audience, and then package your content so that you continuously serve that audience, so that it can drive some sort of business result, whether or not it's buying a product or whatever that thing is. But don't just start a podcast to start a podcast, because
Yeah.
then it's going to be all over the place. And
Yeah.
social, again, is not going to know who to serve your content to. And it's going to be very frustrating, and you're not going to grow. So even if you bring in the most famous people that are five random, just famous people, that won't do the same for your content as if you understand who your audience is. And say, for example, you want to talk about health and wellness, you bring in like the Lane Nortons, or the, I don't know, Dave Asprey's, or bring in like a pro athlete that, can speak about performance. But find a way to package your content, including who you bring into your content, meaning the guest who can speak directly to the audience that you're serving. That will signal that your content is meant for a certain person, and any social platform is going to serve it to them much more efficiently. So
Okay.
that's
So that's
my,
a, yeah.
yeah.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that was my one point about how social works in 2025.
So that's a great transition point to this next point, which is,
Hmm.
and the reason why I blended the social media with the podcasting, which is the podcasting is basically long form content. The social
Yeah,
media is kind of a I don't know, a mix of short form content, and you're
yeah.
basically trying to get people to the long form, like come on over and check out the full podcast. But it brought up this idea of popularity versus relevance, right? And I think
Mm.
what's happening right now, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you seem like, and I'm bringing this up because you seem to have like grasped this stuff on your socials and your long form, which is like the old school was popularity, and it's still a popularity game, right? How many views, how many followers, but it feels like it's transitioning and shifting to relevance. Can you speak to that?
I I agree. Well, I think that listen, I think that humans get so caught up in vanity metrics.
Yeah, right,
I think that's really it. But
right.
I think we've always been caught up in vanity metrics, like, how many followers do I have? How much more money do I make from you? Like, how much does my life look better than everyone else's life? It's this sick comparison game that unfortunately a lot of people play, that I
Yeah,
think it doesn't benefit anybody. It's toxic. It's a game you can never win, because there's always somebody with more money or more followers or more this or more that. Um, and listen, like, social platforms, they're not they're not our friends. Like, they're not encouraging healthy behavior. Like, they know exactly what they're doing, but you got to think about, who they're trying to appease, and it's shareholders, right? It's not the creators. They want their share price and their investors to make money. That's who they serve. Um, so any way that they can encourage people to take the actions or post more content or compete in a way that bumps their stock price up or makes them more relevant, they're going to keep doing that.
right, right.
The more they can hook you on the platform, psychologically, whatever it is, right? That's really it.
Yeah,
So they know this, and I think that we've fallen sort of prey to the very complex psychological apparatus that is social media. And we play all these stupid games, and we play these comparison games, and we try and rack up followers, and we do all these things that really don't benefit anybody at all. Like, they don't benefit anyone. So that's why I'm saying, like, push back against that. Don't worry about follower count. Worry about giving value. Worry about, if you're going to spend time and energy on social media, tie it to something that moves the needle in your life, in your business. Like, that's why I'm saying, don't worry about getting the biggest names. Worry about getting people that create content that is valuable to your audience, if your audience is going to listen to that content, then they're going to buy a product from you or whatever. Like that should be your funnel,
Right.
not just posting content to get followers or
Yeah.
posting content to get views.
Yeah.
Um, that's why I think that, micro influencers or people with smaller audiences that are devoted audiences, that's the way you should do it. Like
Yeah.
you should have just an audience that absolutely, because most people like why are they putting time or energy into social media? It's because they want to build a business. Not
Yeah.
social media should be part of the business. It shouldn't be the whole business for most people. It should be
Yeah.
part of the bit. It should be a marketing channel, right?
Sure.
But I think that most people just look at social media as, okay, how do I get, as many followers as possible? How do I rack up my many views as possible? Meanwhile, they're not even checking to see if those followers are the right followers. Are the views coming from the right people? Is it actually turning into a part of a funnel that leads to them buying a product or service that you want to sell? Or are you just like, you're just focusing on vanity metrics. It doesn't help you at all. So
Yeah.
yes, value. Don't play the social media comparison game. If you're going to put time and energy into this, do it purposefully and understand why you're doing it and how it's actually going to really pay you, how it's actually going to turn into customers, how it's actually going to convert.
Yeah, no, so well said. And that authenticity piece too. I mean, I really admire your authentic vibe and just your approach. Your approach to this whole thing is like, look, this is who I am. This is what this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to share. You know,
100%.
I'm doing the same thing. I feel like I've been, tapping more and more into my authentic self through this platform, which has been
Yeah.
so fun. It's actually fun. That's where the inspirational piece comes in. So I'm going to title this like the inspired content creator is like has fun with this thing,
You have
and
to have fun
I'm
with it.
bringing that up because sometimes it actually purely vulnerable here. It can feel like it's not fun sometimes. It can
Yeah.
feel like it's like dragging. It can feel like, oh my gosh, am I addicted to Instagram right now? You know?
Well, I try not scrolling Instagram. Like I
Yeah.
just use it for research, for
Right.
content ideas, but I really try and stay off all social as much as
Yeah.
possible. Like it's really toxic, dude. It's so toxic.
It can
Um,
be. I know.
Yeah, but also like I mean like we know this like there's studies that like it shows that it messes with you like if you're getting a like or getting a follow like it's a dopamine hit. Like it's like there's like addictive psychological behavior loops that are built into social to keep us coming back. But again, that's not benefiting and that's not helping us because for most people, they don't like a follow doesn't pay you, a
Right.
like doesn't pay you. What pays you is a customer. Most
Sure.
people are doing this because they're trying to create a sort like they're using it as a marketing channel to create income or to create revenue or to create, a funnel for their customers. That's how you should use social media if you're going to do it professionally versus if you just want to post like a picture of yourself to your family every 6 months. That's totally cool too. But for people that are listening to this that are like, I want to be a content creator, um, do it purposefully. Like it's a lot of energy and time. So don't waste your life away just posting content for no reason. Like
So,
that's really
yeah.
not smart.
No, I agree. So, with our remaining time here, let's get back into the weeds,
Okay,
into the
cool.
YouTube game. Because, and here's the setup. For me, when I saw this whole picture of like, oh, these episodes are actually can be an asset, like they are
Hmm.
assets. When I saw that, I was like, wait a second. YouTube is like the hub for all long form assets. And when you
Hmm.
look at big channels like yours, by the way, or like let's go to the top, Mr. Beast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking millions of dollars in revenue that's constant, right? It's this constant. Even I mentioned this before, like athletes, which is like my audience and who I kind of identify with. We're not used to giving value when we're not there. We're not used to that.
Hmm.
We give value, and like your point before, this maybe not just athletes, anyone, right? Most people are so used to showing up, trading their time, creating, commerce, getting paid for their
Yeah.
time, going home, shutting off that value, going to sleep, repeat the next day.
Yeah.
My whole thing is like, man, what happens at 2 or 3 in the morning while I'm sleeping? Is there a way that I can give value? Oh yeah, there is. Through
100%.
this form right here. So I would love for you to dive a little bit deep into the YouTube game. Talk about the first 3 seconds, talk about thumbnails, talk about anything else that you've learned over your journey on how you crush it on YouTube.
Okay. So first of all, that was a really good point. Usually if we're talking about, I'll talk about YouTube in a second.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about this point first.
Okay.
It's very important, especially if you want to build any kind of wealth in your life, to remove the trading your time for money. Like you got to do that at some point. A lot of ways to do that. Like it's not just YouTube, obviously. I mean, you can invest, you can sell a product or service, you can build a business, you can be a creator. There's a whole bunch of ways to like sort of decouple, to like break the connection between the amount of hours you put in and how much money you make. Um, Being a creator, being a podcaster, being a YouTuber is just another way to do it, right? Because when you're a creator, you create marketing assets that market for you 24/7. Now, that's what I was talking about before with finding a way to turn content creation into a business. Because if you start creating all this content, you start posting all this content on YouTube or otherwise, or writing a newsletter or tweeting, like have a product or service that you sell, because you're putting all this energy into content creation. But if you do this properly, if you create content that speaks to a problem that somebody has in their life, that's your customer avatar, and you have a product that solves that problem, then that's how you turn content into 24/7 income. Right? That's really how it is. That's entrepreneurship. You're creating something once that can be sold a million times.
Right.
And a podcast is just another way to do that. You'll always have, I mean, you'll always have sponsorship deals. You'll always have YouTube ad revenue. If you have a product, you'll always have product sales. And the bigger the podcast or the platform gets, whatever it is you're doing, the more money that comes in.
Yeah.
But that's why I was mentioning the more targeted your content is, the better, because you're going to for a YouTube video could have 100,000 views, but if it's just a random YouTube video with a famous person, it may not give you even 1,000 customers. Versus if you have say again a health or well, say you're an athlete, you want to go into like coaching, whatever,
Hmm.
easy
Sure.
transition, right? You
Yeah.
want to help people who are like you're playing ball. You want to help people that are up and coming figure out how to get better at their game. You
Yep.
create content around it. You could and you just do content around that. You don't just interview random famous people. You interview a whole bunch of other like ex-pro ball players, and all your content's about technique and strategy and mindset around ball in particular, like basketball in particular. And then you have a product which could be like a one-on-one like coaching or training that you charge like, I don't know, 10,000 bucks a quarter. And that's like a funnel. That's like a content to product funnel. I think that's a beautiful way to be a content creator, because then you know exactly who your customer is, you know exactly what kind of content you're going to create. You can even do like a basketball podcast, whatever it is, and then the energy you put into it is going to turn into revenue, and that's going to be this constant marketing machine that is always working for you 24/7, 365. That's how people should approach content creation. Content creation is a marketing asset for their business. That's it. But you got to have a business. You don't just put shit out there. I'm not going to interview like a NASA scientist and then like an ex NFL player, and then I'm going to go interview like Gary Vee if I want to draw people back to like a basketball training camp. Like
Sure.
you gotta target a little bit. But a lot of
Sure.
people will be like, I just want to shoot the shit with a whole bunch of cool people, and then it doesn't help them, and then they're like, okay, what am I doing here? Why am I putting so much energy and effort and time and money into this thing when it's not actually making me money?
Yeah.
It has to have a result. Like it does have
Sure.
to have a result. For 99% of people, you don't just want to create content to create content to be famous. Like make it make money for you. Make it a real business.
Make it
Um,
lead to something, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
make it lead to something. Make it lead to something. Like just like don't like listen. I don't think most people on this earth just want to create content to create content. Like you need a better hobby. Like go on vacation, go spend time with your family if you have like too much free time. Like create content to make money, to make it a business. Like I'm not saying that you shouldn't have passion around what you do, but there's other ways to spend your life outside of just podcasting, right? Like you don't just need to do it to make no money. That's my point. But that being said, the second part to your question was, oh, I forget. What
The
was it?
weeds of YouTube. Yeah, get
Oh,
into it.
YouTube. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah,
YouTube is
like
important.
the thumbnail, the first 3 seconds. For me, I would like you to talk about the engagement part, because all the other platforms, the audio platforms, it feels like it's very one way. Like, we're sharing conversation, but the audience
Yeah.
can't really talk back. But in YouTube, you can write a comment. You could, you know what I mean? Like you could share
Yeah.
it. You could chat, all that stuff
If you do live, yeah, I don't do a lot of
live.
lives. But if you do live, yes, yes, that's true. If you do live, you can chat in the live too. If you do like premieres, so why is YouTube important? YouTube is important for most creators because it's the second largest search engine in the world. It's very important for podcasters, um, for a variety of reasons. Because again, if you're just podcasting, no one can discover your podcast if it's just audio unless you market it. But if you do a video component, people can actually discover it, which is
Yeah.
important. You can get organic reach, right? Also, video is one of the most important tools that you can use to build trust with an audience. So if you compare an audience that is a Twitter audience versus like a newsletter audience versus a YouTube audience, same size audience. If you were going to get the Twitter audience to promote a product versus a newsletter audience to promote a product versus a YouTube audience, the YouTube audience is going to trust the most because they've seen this person. And I mean, you can look at some of the biggest YouTubers, don't take my word for it. Some of the biggest YouTubers in the world, if they talk about a product that they're using, it's not like it's an effective marketing campaign. It's like you can't buy that product at any store in the US anymore because it's so that YouTuber's word is so trusted. That's
Wow.
the power of video. You can
Wow.
influence people in a lot of different ways on social media, but if people see you, it's just like this whole other level of trust that's built that can't be matched on any other platform. So it's very important to be on YouTube. Um, the
Can
different
I stop
piece,
you right?
yeah,
Sorry.
sure.
Can I stop you right there?
Hey guys, just wanted to take a quick moment to share my new music, an instrumental track called Small Waves featuring Brian Schwartz on trumpet and yours truly on acoustic guitar. And this music is very much inspired by the ocean and specifically watching small waves crash on each other. When I look at the ocean and watch small waves, I'm able to kind of tap into that flow state, and hopefully, this music is reflective of that. You can find all the links to the music below in the description, and I would love to hear from you if you like the music and you're able to tap into that flow state as well. Let me know. Stay inspired, y'all, and keep exploring that creativity.
Could
Yeah.
you expand on that? Because I think that's huge. Like building real trust. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, you have to find a way to measure it. Usually, again, it's tied back to there's a few ways to look at trust. I would say that one way is if they buy your product or service.
Sure.
I mean, that's an important way to measure trust. So they trust you enough to give you their money. Um, Another thing I've noticed with YouTube, so big YouTube creators, it's like the level of trust and just fandom that the audience has for YouTube creators is unmatched compared to any other platform. You can tell this because if you go to a big YouTube creator, you'll notice that their fans love them so much that they follow them to other socials, meaning a big
Mm,
YouTube creator will have a big audience on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and TikTok. But you go to a big TikTok creator or and there's a big difference between short form video and long form video.
yeah.
If you go to a big TikTok creator, you go to somebody that has 1 million followers on Twitter, you go to somebody that has a big newsletter, it's kind of like just they just have an audience on their primary platform and the audience doesn't care enough about them to go anywhere else. Versus if you go to a big YouTube creator, 100% of big YouTube creators are big on YouTube and big everywhere else.
Wow.
The audience, it's just like a whole other level of influence. It's just like unheard of. It's but I think the X factor, the only X factor I can think about is video, plus the fact that it's long form.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
long form video.
Right.
It's somebody like think if I'm a big Twitter creator, somebody likes one of my tweets, they retweet it. Half of them probably don't even know what I look like. They just like that one little tweet, right? If somebody follows me on YouTube, they are seeing my face for like 10, 20, 30, 60 minutes. So they're
Yeah.
seeing my face, they're listening to me long form. Like that's when you start to build, it's called a parasocial relationship. So a parasocial relationship is when somebody believes they know you like they are your friends or family in real life without ever having met you.
Wow.
That's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
But that is like peak content creation. That's moving beyond influence to actually getting your fans and your audience to believe that they know you, not just like your content. There's some people that do that very, very well. I would say one of the best people that does that very well. Mel Robbins does this very well.
Okay.
So Mel Robbins, of course, she does all the things like she's on YouTube and whatnot, but she's very smart. She speaks to her audience like they're her friends. So
Mm.
she'll say, "Hey friends," or "I love you guys." Like she'll say that.
Yeah.
So the people that are listening are watching for long, like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever length her podcasts are and her content is on YouTube. Um, and she's speaking to them like they're friends. And she's one of the biggest podcasts and self-help personal development creators in the world for a variety of reasons. Her content's good, but it's taking it beyond the content
Yeah.
into creating people that genuinely feel they're not to say the audience is not aware of the fact that you're a creator, but they have more of an affinity for you and they feel like they actually have a bond with you, even though they've never met you in real life. That is sort of peak content creation. That's what a parasocial relationship is.
Dude,
I don't think it's easy to do that without seeing somebody's face.
sure. That totally makes sense. I think you do a great job of that. I
I
think
try, dude.
I
I'm
think
not,
Gary
I
Vee.
appreciate you.
No, Gary Vee does that really well. Lewis Howes does that really
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
So I yeah, that
Gary Vee's another expert. And like it's not like you're doing it I want to make it very clear. These people aren't doing it, myself included. They're not doing it in a way that like they're trying to manipulate you
right,
into following.
right.
They just genuinely know that they want to connect with the people on the other side of the camera, so they conduct themselves different. They're
Yeah,
more real. They
yeah,
talk to the people on the other side of the camera like they're talking to their friends, and the audience picks up on that. And compounded with the fact that you're on video and you're listening to me for like 30 minutes,
yeah,
you already feel like you know me. That's
totally.
parasocial. You already feel like you know me before you even meet me. And the more, like I'm telling you, the more you do this, the more you do your podcast, you'll notice it because you'll go to a conference, you'll go to a trade show, you'll just be in the airport somewhere, and
Yeah,
someone will come up to you, and you can tell when you're doing it right when they have like zero reservation about talking to you. Like
right.
it's like they just like jump into it, and you're like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
But because they feel like they know you, like they launch into the conversation because they've seen you so many times.
It's such a good point, Scott. That's a great point. What did you call it?
It's parasocial. It's a
Parasocial.
parasocial relationship.
Wow.
So that is why video is so important. Now you asked me about other stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. I know we're
um,
over time, so if you want to
I'm
make it
good.
concise.
I'm
Okay.
good, dude. We can speak about it quickly. I mean, okay, so a couple things about YouTube. I'm not like a live streaming expert, by the way. So
Okay.
what you mentioned, there's ways to use live. You know who does a really good job live streaming if you want to sort of reverse engineer what they do, Valuetainment with Patrick
Oh
Bet
yeah,
David. They
PBD. Yeah.
kill it. They kill it on
Yeah.
live streaming. It
Patrick
is
Bet
another
David.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another parasocial example too, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So all of this, listen, all the strategy we're talking about, the goal is to achieve parasocial relationship. The goal is to achieve with your content, people feeling like they know you.
Cool.
Why is that important? Because of course it's going to create loyal subscribers and audience, but also that's the people that buy from you. They
Yeah.
buy from you when they trust you.
Yeah.
Parasocial is peak trust.
Yeah.
Um,
And just
okay.
a real quick note before you continue is like
Yeah.
for the listener, for the athlete who might hopefully is listening to this and hopefully isn't getting inspired of like how can they start their own? Because that's my goal
Mhm.
for this conversation.
Mhm.
Whoever's listening to this and it hasn't started, take this as inspiration and go start. But like,
You got the whole playbook here, by the way.
yeah, right.
Don't worry about like this is what I don't want people to get stressed about. I don't want to be like, oh, it's like that insane marketing strategy or oh my God, how am I going to get people to like fall in love with me over YouTube? Don't worry about that shit yet.
Yeah,
Just start and then
yeah,
keep this stuff in the back of your mind for when you've got the routine and you've got the schedule and you've got, 50
yeah.
pieces of content out, 100 pieces of content out. Like don't rush this thing. That's
Right.
why this is, you can worry about the marketing stuff. You can worry about that once you like figure out how to show up every week first.
Yeah,
That's when you worry
100%.
about the marketing stuff.
100%. And yeah, that was kind of my point is like, we keep referencing Gary Vee. I mean, Gary Vee just gives so much almost daily, right?
Yeah.
And that I think that's what you and I are doing right now. We're giving to someone
Yeah.
who's like, okay, great, thanks guys. I'm gonna go implement and go fail. Like I think failure is a huge part. We haven't touched on that, but like I remember my first episode was in my bedroom during COVID. I was kind of like self-conscious, like I don't want people to like judge my background and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But
You got to
like,
fail, dude. But that's the thing. Failure is the price of admission, man. You got to
right,
fail.
right,
So, like anybody who's thinking they're going to start content not fail, you're kidding yourself. So just fail faster, bro. Like fail
yeah,
faster. Do 100 shit episodes. No one cares. It's fine. Listen, if you want, delete them later, but just get through 100 so that you can just get comfortable with it.
totally.
And like that, that's like there's never any end to this game, right? Like I think we have not individual interviews, but we have about 900. No, actually, sorry, that's a lie. We're like just coming up on 1,000 now, like
Let's
a
go.
thousand episodes, and actually there would be more than that, but I've like listen, I'm like I just mess around with different content. I've started other podcasts, I've killed them. Like
Got
in
it.
terms of like total shit I've recorded, I don't even know, but a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but every day you get better at something and you learn something, or you think about, oh, maybe I want to do this a little bit differently, or I like the way that this came out or this turned out. So, 1,000 episodes in and still learning every single day. And I think
Yeah.
that somebody like a Rogan or a Ferris or Tom Billy with Lewis Howes, or the people who've been doing it for, another 10 years on top of how long I've been doing it. They're still learning every single
Yeah.
day.
And all the algorithms continue to change and evolve
Of
and get
course.
updated.
So you got to
Um,
always be learning.
yeah. I let's start to wrap up, Scott, but
Yeah,
I
sure.
just wanted you to finish your thought. I apologize for
Oh,
interrupting about
so
the
like YouTube.
yeah, yes.
So, I mean, YouTube is organic. YouTube is an organic search engine, right? It's owned by Alphabet, Google's parent company. It's second largest search engine in the world. So when you're thinking about creating content, first of all, we touched on this a little bit, but package it for a certain audience.
Right.
So figure out who you're speaking to and package it for that audience. Like this podcast is going to be about podcasts, but that's the packaging on it, right?
Sure.
Figure out what you're going to create this piece of content around or multiple pieces of content around. Um, for the actual title, I mean, now with AI, you can do so much, but there's a couple different ways that you can find high intent like search queries. So keep in mind, it's an SEO platform. It's a platform where people can discover you. So your title should be something that people are searching for. That's what I'm talking about. So ask Socrates, answer the public. Um, uh, SEMrush, any of these tools, just or if you don't even want to use a tool. By the way, all these tools, what they do is you put in a topic and it tells you, okay, for pets, what are the words that people are searching for pets?
Wow.
That's what the tools do. And then you
Wow.
take those sentences and you turn them into your YouTube title. That's it. It's very
Wow.
simple. Because why is that important? Because then somebody's searching for that title so that if you have a million people searching for that title and your YouTube video is named that particular sentence, then there's a lot more traffic that's going to find your video. That's
Scott,
that that's the SEO game. So
that's so huge.
that's number one. Um, and if you don't want to go through all these tools, just start typing just find what your subject is about and type it into Google and type it into YouTube and see what other videos are titled.
Yeah.
That's very an easy way to find a good title. Uh, Obviously, the sort of the caption or the show notes or the copy that goes in the below the video
Description. Yeah.
description. Yeah, I say show notes because I'm so podcast centric, but yes,
Yeah.
description. Excuse me,
Hmm.
what the rest of the YouTube world calls it.
Hmm.
Um, you just speak about what's in the video. Just describe what's in the video. Put timestamps there. Put relevant hashtags. Uh, uh, that's pretty much it for the description. You can put a call to action, just
Yeah.
sort of like a single sentence at the top, and it's called above the fold. So basically, when you look at a video on YouTube, you can go to see more, and that shows the whole description. But the CTA, the call to action at the top, is what people are most likely to click. So if you have a product or service, you'd put that line saying, "Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. Click here to go purchase my whatever product, service, coaching program." Or if you don't have a product or service, this is where you put a call to action to get people to subscribe to your newsletter. So you're pulling them off the platform and getting them to subscribe to your newsletter.
Huge.
So that's in your description. In terms of, I'm trying to think
Thumbnails.
what else is important. Thumbnails. I mean, thumbnails, you just want click through. So thumbnails, you want clickbait that is accurate, is the best way to describe it. You
Right.
want something that's going to get people excited about clicking through, but you have to deliver whatever it is you promise them in that clickbait title on the thumbnail in the first 3 to 5 seconds of the video.
Right.
So you clickbait cannot be used to attract someone to the video and then not fulfill on that promise. So if you say, I'm trying to think of a good title. If you say like, this is how you live to 120 or 150 with Brian Johnson, or like live to 150. And it's an interview with Brian Johnson, who's like a biohacker, right? Then in the first 3 to 5 seconds, there should be either Brian Johnson or me saying something about living to 150.
Yeah.
Like you have to immediately validate that whatever clickbait sentence you put on that thumbnail, that should be immediately echoed in the first 3 to 5 seconds of that video to reinforce and build trust that I just didn't capture you and then give you, something that you weren't signing up for.
That's a great how-to when it comes to the building the trust. Yeah.
That's an easy way to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
not everybody puts text on their thumbnails, but if you do, that's how you should do it. And if you even
Yeah.
show an image, like Mr. Beast doesn't do text on his thumbnails anymore.
Yep.
He just shows images, but he will still, whatever that image is, he will still find a way to bring that up in the first 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And like go listen to his videos right now. He's probably the best who's ever done it on YouTube,
right.
or one of them for sure. So if you see a picture of, I think one of his recent videos was him like auctioning off a plane. The first sentence he says is, we're auctioning off this plane, or I think it's like survive in this plane for 90 days and you
Yeah.
win it. And that's
I
like
saw
literally
that.
what he says, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
in the first 5 seconds of the video. So you just validate. You want to attract people. You want it to be exciting. You want people to be like, "Oh my God, what the hell's going on?" But you can't use clickbait and then give them something else because that kills the trust.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's really important. Hooks are very important. So yeah, there is the first 3 to 5 seconds, and you still want to hook them in with other sort of interesting parts from the podcast, or if you're not doing a podcast, from the video. Um, I would also say that you should look at retention graphs on the video and notice where people drop off. So
Yeah.
YouTube has retention graphs. You can actually see where your audience starts to lose interest, and you can do one of two things with that information. And this would be in the analytics on your YouTube, but one of two things with that information, you can either use that to pick different topics that your audience might be interested in, or you can actually go into YouTube and edit out the sections where the audience drops off and sees if that increases the retention on a live video. So
Wow.
that's another way you can use it. I don't think many people use it that way. Most people will just say, okay, this video dropped off around like the 10, 20-minute mark. I want to get 70% retention to like, which is, by the way, which is why podcasting is not easy, not hard on YouTube, but it's not easy because getting, 70% retention to 60 minutes is very difficult compared to
Right.
getting a 70% retention to 10 minutes, which is like more of a standard YouTube video format. But the point is, yes, you can edit where people drop off. It'll show you where viewership spikes and declines, and you can either go in and try and edit that for that video, or you can just use that as information going forward, saying, okay, well, for this hour and a half long podcast, people dropped off around the 60-minute mark. So is that poor topic? No, I don't think so, because they stayed 60 minutes. Maybe an hour and a half is a little bit too long for my audience. So maybe let me try not switching the content. Maybe let me try doing 60-minute or 45-minute podcasts and see if that does better, right? So there's a whole bunch of ways you can interpret that data, but use the data. Um, I'm trying to think what else is important. Those are the main things. If you can increase listener retention,
Yeah.
if you can increase discovery, click through, and listener retention on YouTube, I mean, that's half the battle. I mean, there's more you can definitely do for sure, but I think that alone will help your channel grow.
That's so huge. And Scott, I have to just say I appreciate you so much for sharing all this, right? And especially for the no, seriously, for the listener who's like, this might be overwhelming if you haven't started this journey of inspired content creation, right?
Yes.
But I just
It
think
will be if you've never created a piece of content. You'd be like, what the is he talking about?
yeah. Right, right.
But you'll get there. You'll get
Yeah.
there because I want you to have the tools when you start creating and it's not going the way that you want. I
Yeah.
want you to have the tools to be like, oh, okay, so now I've gotten into the flow.
Yeah.
I'm showing up every week.
Yeah.
Now it's like time to optimize and market the shit out of this.
Right. Totally. I know we're way over time. I have a final question for you, which
Sure,
is kind of
go
a
for it.
culmination question, and then I'd love for you to share how people can kind of best support you or follow you. And again, I hopefully I can get you back for another round because this has
Anytime,
been
dude.
this has been
Anytime.
great. This has been great. So like, you sat down with successful people.
Hmm.
How does success and fulfillment fit into your life in a mindset way, in a vibe way, in an energy way? What, yeah, take that.
Yeah, that's so I've sat down with a lot of people and I've seen a lot of different versions of success, but I think there's like one theme that repeatedly shows itself when I interview people. And success again is fulfillment. It is freedom. Like you mentioned, like that's what success is. So how do I incorporate that into my life? I'm a big fan of life architecting. I don't even know how else to describe it. Like everything you do in your life, I do it purposefully with the end result in mind. So when I start a podcast, there's a lot of ways to do a podcast, but for to sort of paint a picture as to what I mean and how sort of bullish I am on this idea of like life architecture, I could be flying around the country every single week and interviewing people at their location, and I'd probably get access to bigger people because sometimes not everybody comes to Miami. I could be doing street interviews with like School of Hard Knocks, and maybe one day I will because I actually like their content a lot. But
Yep.
I have moved to a house with a guest house in the backyard, and I've turned that guest house into a podcast studio, which means that I walk 5 feet to go interview some of the coolest people on earth. And I really don't travel a lot to interview. And it's not because I'm lazy, it's just I enjoy my life and I enjoy what my setup is.
Yeah.
And I want to build something the way that I want to build it. So there's other ways to build it that would take time away from me, from my family, from my sort of day to day, from my routine, from my better half, from Gina. But uh, it's not the way that I want to build it.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people go into a lot of highly ambitious people. They'll start a company. They'll take the promotion at work, whatever it is, and they don't even ask themselves, is this going to lead to the life that I want? And not to say that people should be like, lazy or not put in, 150%, but just understand, is that what you want at the in the season of life that you're in right now?
Yeah.
So do you want to take the promotion if it means that you are traveling 9 months out of the year? I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you don't have a spouse. Maybe you're all in on work. Great. But don't take the promotion and then hate your life.
Right.
Like it's not worth the money or the title if you hate your existence. Now, it could be a stepping stone. Maybe you are young and you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you don't have a family yet. And you're like, listen, I'm going to put in 2 or 3 really hard years of traveling around and it's going to suck. But then that's going to get me the promotion where I can take my foot off the gas and raise a family and be present for my kids. So there's zero wrong answers, but just know what you're getting yourself into and don't just ambiguously drift through life because people are very ambitious, but it's somewhat ironic. You're so ambitious and you're so high performing and you're so driven that you take these moves and steps without actually understanding how it's going to impact your quality of life. Because there's always a way to build the life that you want if you just put a little bit of thought into it. So I think that more people should put thought into the life they actually want and not just the life that their parents or their friends or social media or whatever looks cool on Instagram is telling them to do. Because that's how they're actually going to create a life that they enjoy, that's meaningful, that checks all the boxes. And maybe your version of life changes in 5 or 10 years. That's fine, but just build a life you actually want, not just what someone else tells you you should do.
Being intentional like that is so
So
huge.
intentional. Yeah.
Scott, this has been great. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I love your show. I'm a fan. I'm gonna
Thank you,
link
man.
it. Success story. My favorite episode, Dan Martell. Shout out
Dan
Dan.
Martell's amazing.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna link that one. I think here, as well as the other Gary Vee stuff that we mentioned. Do a quick plug for the show and for your socials and anything else.
Yeah. Well, you gave me an awesome shout out, but it's success story. I do a lot of I do a lot of this.
Yeah.
So if you like podcasts, you like hearing from some incredible people unpack their own lives and talk about their wins and losses, then successstorypodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube as well. All the socials, that's Scott D. Clary. And if you hate podcasts, I also have a newsletter, so you can go read about the stuff that I do as well. But that's it. That's all I work on right now. I'm all in on hopefully using my ability to chat with some really cool people to make your life easier. That's really the goal of the show.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. Well, hey, don't go anywhere. For everyone else, peace and blessings. Stay inspired, everybody. Appreciate you guys.
Awesome, dude.